the Ice Prince. I want to give this, but I'm afraid he won't like it.
Did you want to talk to me earlier? Or was I just being too much?
I just put this lunch in his locker. I was too scared to give it to him directly. Yes, just put it here.
The weekend brought no relief for Hayato. Usually those 2 days were his fortress, where he could completely immerse himself in his own world without interruption. But now, his mind was constantly preoccupied with the Midori-Akari paradox. The cheerful girl surrounded by people, and the thoughtful, mysterious bento sender. Two entities that felt impossible to inhabit the same body. Frustrated, he reached for his camera, his reliable escape. On his plain bedroom wall, a brochure from the school's photography club was tacked up. The annual exhibition was approaching, and this year, the theme was hidden warmth. Hayato scoffed quietly. Warmth, a concept that felt foreign to him. He turned on his laptop, opening a folder containing hundreds of photos he had taken. One by one, images appeared on the screen. The sharp shadows of skyscrapers. Raindrops frozen on a window pane. A stray cat staring warily from a distance. They were all technically good. The composition was right. The focus was sharp. But they all felt cold. Distant. There was no warmth there. The photos were a reflection of his world before the first lunchbox appeared. Reluctantly, he opened another folder. A folder he kept in a hidden directory, with a simple name, Locker 137 Project. Its contents were a collection of photos he had taken impulsively, driven by a feeling he didn't understand. The first picture was of the green, origami frog placed on the school's rooftop railing, set against a sunset sky. Another was a detailed shot of leftover sweet sauce that had accidentally formed a smile-like pattern in the corner of an empty lunchbox. There was also a blurry photo of the back of a girl with a green ribbon walking away from the library, an image that now only added to his confusion. He stared at the photos for a long time. Regardless of who the sender was, the feeling he got from these objects was real. The warmth he was looking for. For the exhibition's theme was actually right in front of him every day, a warmth hidden inside plastic boxes and little notes. An idea began to form. This was no longer about an investigation. It wasn't about solving the mystery of who the girl was. This was about responding. About replying to the silent conversation in the language he knew best. On Monday morning, Hayato arrived at school earlier than usual. The air was still cool and the corridors were empty. In his hands, he carried not only his school bag but also his beloved DSLR camera, which hung from his neck. He went up to the roof, his favorite sanctuary, and ate that day's bento slowly, savoring every bite. After he finished, he cleaned the lunchbox until it was dry and gleaming. He didn't put it straight into his bag. Instead, he placed it carefully on a weathered wooden bench, letting the soft morning light shine on its blue surface. Next to it, he placed the memo note from that day. He took a few steps back, lifting the camera to his eye. Through the lens, he saw a simple scene, an empty box and a slip of paper. But to him, it was more than just inanimate objects. It was proof of an interaction, a symbol of kindness that came unasked. Click! He took several shots from different angles, playing with the light and shadows. Finally, he got one image that best represented his feelings. A composition that was quiet, slightly melancholic, yet full of hidden meaning. That afternoon in the photography club room, he submitted the print of his photo to be registered for the exhibition.
"What's the title, Kurosawa?"
his senior asked. Hayato stared intently at his work. What was the right name for all of this? For the exchange that happened every morning without a single word being spoken. He picked up a pen and wrote in neat letters on the registration form.
Morning conversation to...
He didn't know that in another corner of the school, Akari was laughing with Yui, completely unaware that her small, secret act of kindness was about to be exhibited to the entire school, immortalized in a frame as a work of art. In the week leading up to the annual cultural festival, the school's atmosphere completely changed. Corridors that were usually only busy during the changing of classes were now filled with students, bustling back and forth carrying wooden planks, rolls of colorful paper, and cans of paint. The air, which usually smelled of floor disinfectant and old books, was now enlivened by the scent of sawed wood and enthusiastic laughter. Announcements from the loudspeakers blared every hour, reminding everyone of proposal deadlines, hall usage schedules, and various other things. For Akari, this atmosphere was a source of energy. Her class, 2A, after a fierce debate, finally decided on their main project, Cheerful Cafe 2A. It was an ambitious choice, but one that immediately made Akari's eyes sparkle. Without needing a vote, everyone agreed to appoint her as the head chef and menu designer.
How about we make a mousse with my grandmother's special demi-glace sauce?
She proposed to Yui and her team, her eyes shining with enthusiasm.
And for dessert, baked caramel pudding.
Her days were now filled with a delightful busyness. She spent her breaks making ingredient lists, her time after school negotiating with suppliers, and her evenings perfecting her recipes in the kitchen. Her secret mission for Hayato also evolved. His lunchbox now became her testing ground. One morning, she prepared a tamagoyaki that was softer than usual and a few pieces of chicken, katsu with a slightly different sauce. On her little note, she wrote,
Testing out the menu for the school festival? Feedback, please.
On the other side of the school, Hayato received the message with mixed feelings. His class, 2C, had chosen a much quieter project, an installation art exhibition with the theme, Nightmares, which didn't require much interaction. Hayato's own attention wasn't on that, but rather on the festival from a different perspective. Akari's note that morning was a huge clue, a lighthouse shining brightly in the sea of his doubts. His bento sender was involved in food preparation for the festival. This narrowed his search area drastically. He opened the bento. The chicken katsu was perfectly crispy, and the sauce had a complex sweet and sour taste that was incredibly delicious. This was not the work of an amateur. When writing his reply, he had to be careful. Giving feedback that was too detailed might make him sound suspicious. After a moment's thought, he wrote a reply that was brief, honest, and yet carried the full weight of praise from someone like Kurosawa Hayato.
This is the best one so far.
Throughout that week, Hayato became a sharper observer. He watched the announcement boards, reading the project lists from every class. There were 3 classes running food stalls. He now had his targets. Amidst the hustle and bustle of festival preparations, his eyes would often automatically search for the figure of the girl with the green ribbon. One afternoon, in a crowded corridor, fate almost brought them together. Akari, struggling to carry a full box of tomatoes, turned a corner and nearly collided with Hayato, who was walking from the opposite direction.
Whoa!
Akari yelped, losing her balance slightly. Hayato reflexively reached out a hand to steady the box and keep it from falling. For a split second, their eyes met in the middle of the sea of students. Akari saw surprise in Hayato's eyes, while Hayato saw a tinge of exhaustion on Akari's still vibrant face. They were so close enough to feel each other's energy. But before a word could be spoken, the stream of students pushed them apart, separating them back into their own worlds. On the night before the big day, the school was still bustling. Akari stood in front of her decorated cafe stall. Little twinkling lights were hung up, tables were neatly arranged, and a large chalkboard announced their star menu items. She felt tired, but her heart soared with anticipation. Meanwhile, Hayato walked alone past the gymnasium, which had been converted into an exhibition hall. Through a slightly ajar door, he could see his work. His photograph, Morning Conversation, was hanging elegantly on one of the exhibition panels. Highlighted by a small spotlight, his stomach twisted, a combination of nerves and hope. Tomorrow, the school gates would open to the public. Tomorrow, Cheerful Cafe 2A would begin serving its omuras. And tomorrow, everyone would see a photograph of a clean lunchbox and a slip of paper with the words, "Thank you," written on it. Tomorrow, all the secrets would gather in the same place. The school gates officially opened, and in an instant, the once spacious grounds turned into a sea of people. Music from the main stage boomed loudly, mixing with the promotional shouts from various stalls, the laughter of visitors, and the sweet aroma of cotton, candy mingling with the savory smell of takoyaki being grilled. The cultural festival had begun. At the heart of the festival, Cheerful Cafe 2A had become a center of gravity. Their stall was a huge success. A long line snaked in front of the cashier, and every table was full. In the middle of that storm of activity, Akari was the conductor. With her green ribbon now tied back as a bandana, she moved quickly within their makeshift kitchen.
Two more muris for table 5.
She called out, while skillfully pouring egg batter onto a hot pan.
Yui, please check the sauce supply.
On it. Akari, Sato-kun is back, and he brought 10 friends this time.
Yui replied from the front, jotting down a new order. Akari could only let out a small laugh. She was tired. Sweat trickled down her temples, but her heart was full of joy seeing so many people enjoying her cooking. Meanwhile, Hayato was avoiding the crowds. He wasn't interested in the game stalls or the music stage. His goal was singular, the final investigation. Armed with the clue from the bento note, he walked towards the food stall area. The first stall, selling yakisoba. He bought a portion. The taste was standard, like typical festival food. This wasn't it. The second stall, selling waffles. He didn't even need to buy one. The aroma alone told him it wasn't the taste he was looking for. Now only one possibility remained, Cheerful Cafe 2A. With steady steps, he approached the most crowded stall. A familiar aroma immediately greeted him, the savory fragrance of eggs, cooked with butter and a rich, spiced sauce. His eyes were drawn to the handwritten menu on a colorful chalkboard. At the very top it read, "Special omuris with demi-glace sauce." His heart pounded. He got in line, ordered a portion, and managed to find a single empty seat in a corner. A few minutes later, a steaming plate of omuris was placed before him. He stared at the dish. The perfectly soft-cooked egg enveloped the rice, and the dark brown demi-glace sauce was poured in a beautiful pattern on top. With a slight tremor in his hand, Hayato picked up his spoon. He took a small spoonful, making sure to get egg, rice, and sauce in one bite. The moment the spoon entered his mouth, time seemed to stop.
This was it. This taste.
The gentle sweetness of the egg, blending perfectly with the savory rice and the rich, flavorful sauce. The exact same taste he had savored alone on the rooftop every day. There was no more doubt. All his theories, all his hesitation, vanished in a single bite. His eyes automatically searched for the source of this magic. He looked towards the kitchen, a busy, open area behind the counter. And there she was. Through a gap between her busy classmates, he saw Midori Akari, focused on pouring sauce onto another plate with intense concentration. With the exact same motion he had imagined all this time, amidst her own busyness, Yui managed to pull Akari out of the kitchen.
5-minute break.
Yui insisted.
You haven't seen anything yet. You should go check out the photo exhibition in the gymnasium. I heard Kurosawa-kun's photo is on display there, you know.
She teased with a knowing smile. Curiosity won over Akari's exhaustion. With weary steps, she walked towards the quieter gymnasium. She entered the cool exhibition space, her eyes scanning the rows of photos displayed on black panels. There were landscapes, portraits, and abstract photos, and then her eyes fixated on one photograph. Her heart felt like it stopped beating. It was a close-up photo of a blue lunchbox. The box was clean and empty, placed on a wooden bench with soft morning light illuminating it. Beside it lay a small memo note, her memo note. With stiff steps, she moved closer to read the small card beneath the photo. Morning conversation. Photographer. Kurosawa Hayato, Class 2C. Akari's breath caught in her throat, so, he knew? No, this was more than just knowing. He wasn't angry. He didn't think she was weird. He valued it. He understood all her small gestures, all her silent messages, and turned them into a work of art. He gave their little secret such a beautiful name. Tears of emotion began to well up in the corners of her eyes. In the midst of the roaring festival, in 2 different locations, the truth was finally revealed to them both. Their secret was now out in the open, hovering in the air between the bustling cafe and the quiet exhibition hall, waiting to be brought together. The golden afternoon sunlight streamed through the large gymnasium windows, bathing the wooden floor in a gentle warmth. The hustle and bustle of the festival had subsided, replaced by the echo of tired footsteps and occasional laughter from students, beginning to dismantle their stalls. Inside Cheerful Cafe 2A, the last traces of demi-glace sauce had faded, leaving behind the smell of coffee and a sticky feeling in the air. Akari moved as if in a dream. Her hands automatically stacked dirty plates and wiped down tables, but her mind was elsewhere. Her thoughts kept returning to the cool exhibition hall, to a black and white photograph of a blue lunchbox and a slip of memo paper. Morning conversation. The name kept replaying in her head, warming her heart from the inside out. Her fear of her secret being exposed had vanished, replaced by a thrum of anticipation that felt 100 times more intense. If I run into him, what should I say?
Akari, da?
Yui's soft voice jolted her from her reverie. She almost dropped the stack of plates she was holding.
That's enough, head chef.
Yui said, taking the plates from Akari's trembling hands.
You're pale, and you look like you're about to faint. Go on, get some fresh air outside. Quickly, before you break all our plates.
Akari looked at her best friend gratefully, unable to argue. She took off her dirty apron and walked towards the slightly ajar back door of the cafe, seeking relief in the cool evening air. As she pushed the door open and stepped outside, her breath caught. He was there, about 10 steps away from her. Kurosawa Hayato was leaning against the school's brick wall. He was no longer in his uniform, but a simple t-shirt and jeans, with his camera bag slung over his shoulder. He wasn't looking at Akari, but at the sunset sky that was beginning to change colors. As if sensing her presence, he slowly turned his head. A thick silence enveloped them. Akari could hear her own heart racing wildly. She nervously wrung the hem of her uniform. Hayato pushed himself off the wall and began to walk towards her. Slowly but with steady steps. Each step seemed to mark time, measuring the shrinking distance between them. He stopped just one step in front of Akari.
Kurosawa-kun.
Akari whispered, being the first to break the silence.
What are you doing? Here?
Hayato didn't answer right away. His eyes, usually sharp and hard to read, now looked softer, radiating something Akari had never seen before.
I was waiting for you,
he answered quietly.
The Omuris. It tasted the same.
Those two simple sentences hit Akari with their full force. Not an accusation, but a confession. It tasted the same. It was Hayato's way of saying, I know.
Your photograph?
Akari replied, her voice trembling slightly.
I saw it. I didn't know what to say.
I didn't know what to say every morning either.
Hayato admitted, a surprising display of honesty.
So I photographed it. That was my way of replying to your messages.
Ah, so that's how it was. Akari cooked to express her feelings. Hayato took photos to express his. They had been speaking the same language all along. A wordless language. Tears once again welled up in the corners of Akari's eyes, and this time she didn't try to hold them back.
Thank you,
she whispered sincerely. Seeing Akari's tears, a flicker of panic crossed Hayato's face. But then he understood. He reached out his hand, hesitating for a moment, before gently touching the top of Akari's head, a gesture that was awkward yet incredibly comforting.
Midori-san,
he said again after pulling his hand back.
Starting tomorrow, you don't have to leave it in the locker anymore.
Akari's heart sank. That sentence sounded like an ending. Is this it? Is our conversation going to end here? Now that we've finally found each other? She looked down, unable to hide the disappointment on her face. Noticing the change in Akari's expression, Hayato quickly added, his voice clearer and more urgent now.
Because I want to eat it with you,
he said. Akari lifted her head, looking at him with questioning eyes.
In the same place.
Hayato continued.
Every day.
Under a sky that was turning from orange to indigo, in the silence of the school's back courtyard, Akari finally understood. This wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. The tears of disappointment that had threatened to fall moments, Eigo now turned into tears of pure happiness that streamed down her cheeks. The brightest, most genuine smile bloomed on her face, and she nodded her head firmly, without a single trace of doubt. Several weeks have passed since the cultural festival ended. Autumn has begun to show its colors, spreading a cool breeze and a sunlight that feels warmer on the skin. On the school rooftop, upon a wooden bench that has been a silent witness to so much, a new routine has been formed. Lunchtime, Akari is chattering enthusiastically, telling the story of how Yui dramatically slipped in front of the class that morning. Her hands move here and there, mimicking the scene with gusto.
And she fell with such elegance, you know? Like a falling leaf.
Beside her, Hayato listens intently. A thin, genuine smile is etched on his face, a smile that has now become a common sight for Akari. His eyes are no longer hidden behind a camera lens or the pages of a book. His attention is fully devoted to the girl beside him. Between them, a bright yellow lunchbox lies open. Inside is rice, tamagoyaki, and a few pieces of teriyaki chicken. They are sharing from the same box.
Here, try this.
Akari says, as she picks up a piece of chicken with her chopsticks and aims it toward Hayato.
I tried a slightly different sauce recipe today.
Without hesitation, Hayato opens his mouth and accepts the bite. He chews slowly, his eyes closed as if he's analyzing it.
Well?
Akari asks, anxiously awaiting his verdict. Hayato swallows, then looks at Akari.
Better than yesterday's.
He replies in his typical flat tone, but his eyes hold a hint of mischief.
Hey, is that your only comment?
Akari protests with a pretend pout, which is immediately met with a soft laugh from Hayato, a sound that still feels new and precious to Akari. As they laugh, Akari notices a grain of rice stuck to the corner of Hayato's lips. In the past, she might have been too shy to say anything, but now, everything feels different.
Hayato-kun!
She says with a giggle.
You eat like a little kid. You've got some rice right there.
Hayato tries to wipe it with the back of his hand, but he misses.
Here.
Akari says softly. She scoots closer, and with a gesture that feels so natural, she reaches out her finger and gently plucks the grain of rice away. For a moment, the distance between them is once again only a breath away, just like it was in the library. But this time there is no more shock or awkwardness. There is only a comfortable warmth. They look at each other, Akari's bright smile meeting Hayato's gaze, which is now full of affection. A small mistake on a hurried morning. A lunchbox that landed in the wrong locker. Who would have thought that something so simple could change two different worlds? Tear down a wall of ice and unite two hearts under the same sky. The lunchbox from the sky had found its purpose. No longer as a mystery to be solved, but as a promise of a tomorrow they would always enjoy together.
From Yui's perspective, I, Nakagawa Yui, am a good best friend. I have to make this clear from the very beginning. When my best friend, Midori Akari, accidentally started the most absurd Operation Lunchbox in the history of our high school. Who supported her? Me. Who was her confidant when she almost got caught? Me. Who encouraged her to keep going when she had doubts? Of course, me. I was the manager, the supporter, and the sole audience member in the front row for this romantic drama. And now, that drama has reached its happy ending. Akari is more cheerful than usual. And Kurosawa Hayato, the Ice Prince, who used to have the emotional range of a brick wall, can now smile. A small smile, yes, but it exists. A miracle of nature. I'm happy for them, truly, completely. But there is one problem. A very fundamental problem. A problem that threatens the well-being of my stomach and my heart.
Yui, sorry, I'm heading out first.
That sentence slid from Akari's lips the moment the lunch bell rang. I, who was already prepared with chopsticks in hand and a rumbling stomach, could only stare at her in confusion. Akari was putting her yellow lunchbox, just one box, not two, into her bag with a dreamy smile that made me slightly nauseous. "Heading out where?" I asked, still hopeful.
To the roof.
She answered simply, her cheeks blushing slightly. Then she darted out of the classroom, leaving me in the dust of her betrayal. The roof. Of course, the roof. Their headquarters. Driven by a mix of curiosity and painful hunger, I decided to conduct an investigation. With the steps of a ninja, I snuck up the stairs to the roof. I opened the door just a crack, enough for one eye to peek through. And there they were, a sight that sliced my heart in two. Akari and Kurosawa-kun were sitting side by side on the bench, sharing from the same lunchbox. The sacred lunchbox that was once the source of my gossip and support was now their exclusive property. I watched intently, like I was watching a documentary about a rare species. Scene 1, Akari laughs while pointing at something. Scene 2, Kurosawa-kun gives a small smile. I repeat, a smile. The species has truly evolved. Scene 3, Akari picks up a piece of tamagoyaki with her chopsticks and... oh, no way. She's feeding it to Kurosawa-kun? And Kurosawa-kun doesn't pull away. He eats it. What kind of world is this? I backed away from the door, leaning against the wall dramatically. I took my own lunch out of my bag, a melon pan. I bought at the convenience store this morning. This bread felt so pathetic, so lonely. I stared at the bread in my hand. "Goodbye, octopus sausages," I whispered mournfully. "Farewell, sweet rolled omelets. My life is now just about sad carbohydrates." That afternoon, I intercepted Akari on her way home. I put on the most wounded expression I could muster. Akari, I said, my voice trembling.
Oh, hi, Yui. What's wrong?
She asked, looking worried. I saw everything. I continued, staring blankly into the distance. On the roof. Your lunch. With him. Akari looked confused for a moment. Then her expression changed from confusion to realization, and then to guilt-ridden panic.
Yui, I'm so sorry.
She shrieked, shaking my shoulders.
I totally forgot. Oh my God, I'm such a bad friend. I was too,
Too blinded by love? I finished tragically. It's okay, Akari, I understand. I just need some time to process the sweetest betrayal in the history of our friendship.
Tomorrow, I'll make you a special portion tomorrow. The biggest one with extra side dishes. I promise.
And Akari kept her promise. The next day, a magnificent 3-tiered bento box landed on my desk. Its contents were heaven on earth. There were octopus sausages, chicken katsu tamagoyaki, and even a few pieces of fruit for dessert. I almost cried with emotion. I opened my lunchbox with pride. However, just as I was about to take my first bite of katsu, I saw Akari wave from the classroom door. Behind her, Kurosawa-kun waited patiently. They both gave me a small smile before turning around and walking together towards the stairs to the roof. I looked at my luxurious lunch. Then I looked at the retreating backs of my two friends. I let out a long sigh and then I smiled. Well, at least I'm a very well-fed victim.